Hey, welcome to SMarketPlace. I'm Keith Reynolds, and it is Thursday, February 27th. And this is our show about sales, marketing, and rock and roll. And I'm here with my co host, Tom Dempsey. Hey, man, how are you?
Hey, Keith, I'm doing great. How are you doing, my friend?
It's been a while.
It has. It's
Yeah,
all
I
right.
got, yeah. Last week it was 5 degrees. We're up close to 60 now in Denver.
Yeah, that's typical.
So, what have you been up to?
Oh boy, everything, just working hard and minding the kids. When it
Any
comes to rock
concerts?
and roll, this is not confirmed yet, but I am hoping that a group of us are getting together to go to the Sphere in Vegas to see Dead and Company again.
Oh, wow. I might go with you if there's a spot.
Absolutely. Love
That
to.
sounds oh, man, I was so jealous you sent me those videos, last time. They were
Yeah. No, it's a stellar location and just great music.
well, speaking of music of the '60s and '70s, I saw on a social media feed this week a picture of Soldiers Field in 1977 for the Emerson, Lake and Palmer concert. They had Foghat and forget one other band, and I was there at that concert, and I could see my seat right where I was sitting.
Wow, that's
Uh,
great. How fun.
yeah. So, anyways, keep things moving along. We got an amazing guest, Bryan Reynolds. No coincidence in the last name. Hey, Bryan.
Hey there, how are you?
Good. Good. Welcome back. This is your second time on the show.
That's right. I think it's been a few years, but it's good to be back.
Yeah, I think we weren't doing the rock and roll bit yet.
Ah, well,
It
I'm
was just
excited. I'm excited for that.
cool. All right. Well, we'll check in on your music, illustrious music history soon. And in the meantime, what you been up to?
Well, yeah, some big changes kind of in my career. I left a position as a vice president of marketing with a senior living organization and went to work in the kind of the ad industry space over the last year and a half, and now I'm doing a lot of consulting, particularly on content marketing. Within the industry, the senior living industry, and even outside. So really working on processes, content strategy overall, and just helping advise clients on how to best maximize the use of content, whether it be written or video or audio content.
Uh, that's great. A man after my own heart.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. You would
Uh,
you would think you wouldn't know we're related.
so, well, we were laughing earlier. Right now, you got three Irishmen on the screen, and making all this happen is Sarah Noonan. So, hey, Sarah.
Hello.
Hey,
Uh, well, so give us a little bit of your background. You talk about content marketing, the strategy. I mean, we've been doing this together
Yeah.
since the .com era, but like, give us the why. How did you get involved, and really what drew you to this career?
Yeah, it's actually kind of started as a teenager. I was doing a project when I was maybe 13, and my best friend was over, and we had this camera. We were recording the project with a camera, and then we ended up kind of goofing around and making fake television shows and commercials, and didn't think a lot about it from that point on. But when I went to college, I decided I wanted to do something I really enjoyed, and was lucky enough to be accepted to a program at the University of Cincinnati College Conservatory of Music for media production, and really focused on video production at that time as my area of career. But and worked in the news industry, sports industry, worked on a soap opera for a short time, some corporate video. And I think shortly after that, then you and I, Keith, started working in that .com area back around 1999, and really learned to build websites and started working in digital marketing strategy. And as time's gone on, with social media and kind of the democratization of media and social media and everybody doing video, I've really been interested in how you bring all these forms of content, really to help elevate brands and companies, not just display their expertise or their services, um, uh, but really help position them as experts in their field, and then also really try and do some storytelling or even entertaining as part of that brand. And I know you and I have talked a lot about over the years, but there's just so much opportunity out there now. And I've really gravitated not just in integrated marketing and digital advertising, but really that content marketing, because it's becoming more and more important in this world that's, TikTok, Instagram Reels, Facebook videos,
Sure.
even on LinkedIn, we're starting to see more and more video, um, from brands and consultants out there. So, really having a strategy, I think, is really important, and putting together it based on keyword research, really representing the brand's tone of voice, putting together a strong editorial calendar that keeps you, on a timely effort to continually put out content and in a meaningful way that'll help you achieve your goals, is something I've really gravitated towards.
Well, it's kind of integrating. You have one source of content that follows a North Star, and then many channels and
It,
many modalities of the way people are going to interact with your media. And then, that's interesting. At that time when we were doing the websites, one of the things clients we had was Integrated Marketing International with Bob Yeager,
mhm,
and we were doing really traditional PR for him. He was
right.
a senior marketer, uh, and he had this a PR agency, and so we were getting editors to publish our stuff. That
Yep.
was, part of my job was writing white papers and case studies. The other part of it was making phone calls to editors and keeping up the relationship, right?
Right.
And and then we started putting it up. So you and I are now building websites, and Bob's clients are asking us to put the things that had been submitting to editors on websites, and the editors are like, "Well, I can't publish it. You've already
Right.
published that, right? It's not an exclusive."
Right.
And that transition then a couple years later really got energized when Salesforce invested in HubSpot,
Hmm.
right, in 2007, and
Yeah.
HubSpot started blogging and teaching these techniques. And I mean, that's when we really dove in and took it to inbound marketing.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a fascinating time. I think I was in between roles at that time, and just took a deep dive into HubSpot. And just the overall philosophy of attracting, converting, closing a sale, and then delighting people really made a lot of sense. But it was all based on really that idea of producing content to attract people to come in, and then you're helping lead them through a consumer journey to hopefully close a sale. And there's so many opportunities and touch points and distribution points with the HubSpot platform, that it really made a lot of sense back then. And as I've gotten to use it and execute it over the years, it's really this powerful tool that allows you to build an audience, continually attract people, and then help people through that that customer journey. And it's and then when you're aligning your content based on that journey, you're really helping your sales teams, with content that can be not only informational, but really, hit those emotional tones too, to help, people in their decision making journey.
You were talking about some of the applications that you're working with now, curating the
Hmm.
newsletters, video. Talk a little bit about, some of the most current and relevant ways to do this now.
Yeah, I've been using the newsletter format on LinkedIn here recently, and not necessarily producing original content, but content that I'm coming across that's educating me and interesting me, and really passing that along to the audience that follows me on LinkedIn. And so, in the format, I'm trying to come with an idea that maybe about content marketing and sharing the value of content marketing. Or this week we're talking about video marketing and the importance of really having video as part of your content marketing plan, and why it's important, and then the different forms of content that is important. And so, and then from there, then I try and have kind of a feel good story. I really love good storytelling, particularly in the video format. So often there's stories from on the road from Steve Hartman, or CBS Sunday Morning just has a great way of storytelling as an example of, and brands can do that storytelling too, to again hit some of those emotional sentiments, or even just entertain. And then finally, usually trying to share something on kind of wellness. I think we all are trying to stay healthy, both mentally and physically. And then the last one related, to your podcast, is trying to share some music that I've enjoyed over the years, or maybe sometimes I get recommendations from peers to share as well.
That's pretty cool. And so you're processing your experience and sharing it with others. And I think we in this industry, it's easy to say, oh, well, you're in the industry. But if you're an engineer
Hmm.
uh, in an area, you're doing the same thing in learning. It's just figuring out a way to share and use the tools. And that's really one of the most primary reasons to do it, is you get to connect with people.
Right. Right. Yeah. I saw there's been a couple of newsletters I've subscribed to over the years that were really, again, focused on curating content and maybe providing a little bit of analysis. One is Next Draft by a gentleman named Dave Pell. He lives out in San Francisco. And then Morning Brew is another great one that I start my day off, that usually has some great general news and business news. And I'm pretty religiously read those in both the morning and the afternoon. So I thought, what a great way of connecting with an audience.
Another topic we've talked about is search and
Hmm.
how that's changed.
Yep.
You had some interesting observations on that.
Yeah, I mean, the search paradigm is changing as we speak right now, as AI is, becoming the topic on the front of everybody's minds. People are using ChatGPT. You go to Google and search for something, and you're getting a snippet of, a definition or an overview of the topic. And it's really driving down organic search engine traffic to brands. And so the paradigm's changing, and you really have to produce content and be an authority on a topic or a subject matter, and produce that material in various ways, not just written materials that are going to have SEO value, which is still important, but you have to really do more. You have to bring that authority on a topic, in various formats, video, podcasting, and the written format. So, it's just a changing landscape that we're all needing to adapt to. And I think brands are really going to have to adapt by adding more video and other forms of content to their mix of what they're offering.
Well, we're at go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, no, I was just, you've worked with a lot of different companies, a lot of different industries, each with their own nuances
Mm-hmm.
in language.
Yep.
How do you approach a client if you haven't worked in that industry before? You're trying to get to know, their language and what's important to their customers and the content that you ultimately want to want to create with them?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I was just going through that recently with an organization that served autism health. And even though I had some knowledge of autism, I certainly didn't understand it from the clinical standpoint. So you really have to go through a discovery process with the client. Ask them what's important. You really need to understand their consumer journey so that you're organizing content, because at the end of the day, you have to really understand the consumer and what questions are they seeking so that you can answer them. So I think that discovery, obviously, if you're able to do some market research, both maybe quantitative and qualitative, to get some feedback is always really helpful as well. But then really making sure you're defining that both in how you're organizing the content, both from your standpoint of how the consumer journey is, and then how it should be organized from the consumer standpoint. Because if you look at, say, a newspaper, it's organized by sports and local news and business news. So you need to kind of have an organizational system that makes sense so that you can continue to have life for that content in a way that matters to the people. So once you have all that, then that informs your editorial system, and then your distribution system, whether it's Facebook or LinkedIn or TikTok or whatever really is going to wherever the distribution is going to be important to your consumers, or where they're located.
Yeah.
So getting the messaging is the first step.
Yep.
And it's important, but it's not the only step.
Right. And of course, keyword research is important in that process too.
Yeah.
You hit on a key topic that's true with any sort of marketing and sales for that matter. And that's knowing your customer, knowing what they want, knowing their profile, knowing your ideal customer profile.
Yeah.
All of these are so critical if you want to relate to them.
Yep.
And the content that you write and the videos and everything else.
Yeah.
It's got to appeal to them.
Yeah. It's the classic discovery as a salesperson, and then offering, the right services and amenities and putting it in a way that matters most to them. So you're absolutely right.
To bridge back to what you were saying about AI driving content, changes in content, and the importance of video, and then to this question of having a voice that aligns with what the customer has. Every company has that expert, has those experts, right? And nonprofit organizations, any organization has people who truly understand the mission and speak the language. And I'm going to do a shameless plug for Publius Studio. What we're doing right now, talking about our expertise, we set up the environment for any executive to come in and talk like this and be interviewed and talk off the top of their heads about their expertise and their experience in working with customers. And then we capture that and create content, and we use AI to create content that fits into the channels. And we've compressed what was a month or more of time to get something done down to days and hours turnaround, and with more options. But because we're using all the AI to process these interviews and these discussions, it's not making stuff up. It's just helping us process it and squeeze the time out of it. So that's, for us, has been, we started doing it to put on our podcast 3 years ago, and it took us 30 days to post it. And now it's like, boom, it's out there, and we can write blogs about it and have it up in a day or two. And so we realized that the service that we provided ourselves to promote our strategy was actually more valuable than trying to market the strategy. And so we turned it into a studio.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's brilliant, Keith. And especially you kind of were nibbling around it, but one of the challenges, both on it from an internal content team or even an external, getting that content from the experts in a effective and efficient way has always been a big challenge for marketing organizations. So by being able to use the interview process, you're extracting that, and then you have it in multiple formats and multiple ways to distribute that content. And it really, and then embedding it with, say, a blog. I've seen statistics that say it can help conversions, as much as 50 to 60%, on people's websites. So it really is, it really makes the process efficient and really helps you get through to your content goals overall. So it's, and you can do that with consumers too. You can get a great testimonial, hit on some of those talking points that you really want to hit on for a certain topic. And again, that can turn into a blog, and you can embed the video in the blog and put it on social media. So it just becomes this
You can make,
thing.
you talk about consumer, you can make a cartoon out of it, the conversation.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It really,
you don't have to do all the hair and makeup.
Exactly. The lines between I really believe that the lines between consumer and B2B in many ways are just melting away. It's really about, in companies I've worked for, you have the subject matter expert who goes to trade shows and talks, right? And just capturing what they say. And instead of having them in a room of 700 people, you have them on LinkedIn talking like we are right now.
It's amazing. It's just, I wouldn't have seen this 25 years ago, but it's all come not just full circle, but way beyond what I ever thought was imaginable.
I just saw a piece of Steve Jobs speaking at a Silicon Valley economic club. He was in a blue jacket, and he started talking about the ability for a student in this era we live in today to talk to Leonardo da Vinci, that we'd have the data where you could actually ask questions. And he was, in a way, predicting the AI model.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're seeing a lot of this stuff where you're seeing Hollywood celebrities that isn't real content, but between AI and these kind of deep fakes that are coming out, you can really replicate an experience, and I'm sure that's not going away. And I'm sure the Mark Zuckerbergs are looking at how do you do this in an immersive way with virtual reality. So I'm sure in another 5 years we're going to talk about this, and we're going to be on a different level than where we're at even today.
Yeah, and being another big change is, I think most people think of social media as platforms like Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, but where the real action is in Twitch and on Discord and in private rooms on LinkedIn and Facebook, not out in the public. So, how do you have content that resonates where it's really communities?
Yeah, it's interesting because content can pop up anywhere. I was here in my kitchen, and we have an Echo show, and I saw an interesting piece of content that was being sponsored by Cheerios, and it was kind of a we're all trying to get attention. This is the attention economy, and of all the places, I thought, what a great brand placement. In some place that I wouldn't have even thought of a couple of years ago.
While you're eating breakfast.
Right.
Gosh, I think I want some Cheerios.
Right. Well, and it's become so democratized now. I mean, we were talking about content in the newsletter, and I've just started a video series, but now it's just a matter of putting an iPhone in front of you. You've got a teleprompter app that's free that you can, read from a script that was generated by AI based on some prompts that I created and some research that I had done. And you got to bring a little bit of energy so you're not flat, but it's, something anybody can do, with a little bit of coaching and a little bit of planning. So it's just, really become interesting how, this world has become a content creator world, and it's so easy to do it.
And
It
it's
is.
becoming,
Go ahead.
so much easier too.
Mm-hmm.
It like we talked about the first podcast, and
Mm-hmm.
taken quite a while to get the content out and everything else because of technology and time and everything. But geez, you can be solo and be able to figure out, um, without great complexion, but to figure out how to produce your content and tell the world about whatever topic is critical to you. It's
Yeah.
it's, it's much more accessible.
Yeah, and inexpensive as well. I mean, again, if you're just doing it yourself, but I do think there is a time and a place to create that strategy, so that you're not doing it willy-nilly, you're not going left, right,
Right.
up, down. But,
Yes.
as long as you're doing that planning, and I've always tried to encourage my clients to do it a quarter at a time, so that you can be timely on topics and trends, but secondly, you're getting out and giving yourself some time to be able to produce it and kind of get it ready for publication and distribution.
Yeah.
So, that planning is an important part of it as well.
Yeah.
I'm going to share something here on that. Let's see. Here we go. Can you guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So I've been getting. I put this out there last week,
I saw
and
that.
we've been upgrading. What do you guys think, or what questions would you have? So for everyone else, this is a package that we've put together to help people come into the Publio studio, have a talk like this with the pre-planning and pre-production, and then come in and have the session, and then we give you the video and even written content out of a session like this. So
Right. And I guess to define the Publio studio, Keith, you can really be anywhere to enjoy the Publio studio, right?
absolutely. It's a virtual studio
Yep.
where we can use a tool like this, which is, I'd call it an upgrade from a Zoom or a Google Meet, where you can have branding on the screen and you can switch out cameras. You can use a better microphone. And I even have my iPhone now attached to my laptop, and it's the camera that I'm using. I'm not using the laptop camera. Just by having a USB-C cable, putting the two together, it now shows up as a high 4K, high def camera.
Wow.
So yeah, it really is, to Tom's point, super easy now. But anyways, we're going to market now with a package that spans from helping you create the content to building the revenue ops behind it using a tool like HubSpot.
Wow. And how long does that process usually take, Keith?
So we can have the two the planning session and the uh, uh, production session, like we're doing right now, in within the same week,
Mm-hmm.
and then we need 7 days to turn that into content. And for the $1,500 price point, that's the long form video of the interview,
Mm-hmm.
so podcast. That's a LinkedIn post, and then we'll give you 2 video shorts as well.
Wow. That's an amazing package. And I think, again, to that idea of just making it all turnkey and having a great idea for distribution, I really like how you've got that framed.
And we've been doing it not just for top of funnel
Mm-hmm.
social media. Um, you know, I've just recently interviewed somebody who had an idea for a white paper,
Mm-hmm.
and that was really as much about training the people within the company where they're taking the company, as well as telling customers. But
Yeah.
starting off a year with a white paper, all that stuff that's in the executive's head can
Yep.
turn into the root content, as well as helping to build strategies and plans so everybody's on board.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, because those can be very difficult to produce and time, and take a lot of time. So if you can, get all that extracted and put it up on your website, both in video format, written format, as gated content or non.
Mhm.
I think that's a wonderful idea. I'm sure you could do that with case studies as well.
And back to the idea of virtual, not only is it dialing in and interacting like we are right now, but
Hmm.
recently we did a video for a company that was entirely based on 15 interviews that we did with the senior people all the way down to the engineers of the company, asking what it
Hmm.
was like in that work in the company, and
Hmm.
and it was phenomenal. It was, McAllister tugboats. We love them. They're just a wonderful group of people, and tugboat towing, I should say. And
Hmm.
they're a 160-year-old company. They had a great story to tell,
Yeah.
and everybody was on message. It was really a joy to work with them.
Yeah. Well, and I think getting back to, as you produce this content, it can be great sales tools for your team out in the field that gives
Yeah,
them a reason to reach out to their clients, or, again, if it's really focused on the consumer journey, you can use that as one of your touch points to kind of help motivate them on to the next level of that journey. So
sure,
um,
sure.
there's
And
so
we can
many
even send the
applications.
camera. If the laptop iPhone kind of isn't the right setting or you need higher quality, we can
Yep.
even send in a cameraman and
Right.
have done that, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So, part of that is we talked about how it's much easier these days to be able to do it yourself. But do you have the time? Do you have the
Yeah.
energy? Do you have the knowledge?
Right.
All of that. It at a price point like that for what you get professionally,
Mhm.
it's it's I think a significant value.
Yeah, and it's so turnkey. I mean, to be able to
Right.
do that at a reasonable price point and then being able to get it out in 2 weeks is phenomenal. Especially in this world, there, trends are always popping up, and you can, take advantage of it just like that.
Yeah. And we'll always do a rush order.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
you
Yeah,
don't
Yeah.
you don't sleep as it is.
our famous relative Keith, Bryan Reynolds, I think, is very, very good at turning around trends, within a few days. And
Is brother Ryan returning your calls?
right, right. No, he's too famous now.
I love his advertising.
He's great. He's amazing.
Um, well, and he's a good example of entertainment for marketing.
Hmm.
You look at his phone service, and um,
Yep.
he's building a brand just around getting out there and doing fun stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's one thing where us marketers could probably do a better job of, maybe even sometimes just entertaining or trying humor. Um, not that it always works, but it can be a very, very helpful thing, in getting a key point across. So
You just sparked something. Another Reynolds to mention, rest in peace, is Jack Reynolds.
yeah.
And there was a guy who attached music to every piece of his life,
Hmm.
and the emotion. And he always talked about the emotion of music and the ability to strike memories. And you
Yep.
think about that and apply that to what you're doing, and it's really important to be using tools like music and
Yep.
imagery
Yep.
to create the experience. And again, it's easier to do today. Speaking of having fun and telling stories, I know you wrote a piece about your first concert, or your on your blog, in anticipation of showing up here. So let's dive into your rock and roll history.
Yeah. So this would have been probably around 1987, 88, my first concert. It was one of two, and I'm claiming Rush as my first concert. And in my newsletter, I shared the Spirit of Radio song as part of that. They have a great video, and it's such a great song and great storytelling, and of course, great musicians. So it was either that or Steve Miller, but I'll claim Rush as my first.
And Steve
Back
Miller
when I
was
was
your
about
second.
16 years old.
Neat. Well, Rush, that's some cred rock and roll.
Yeah. I mean, great band. Remember, the older guys in my high school listening to it, and I jumped on that bandwagon pretty quickly. They're just a talented band.
Yeah, I was a big 2112. Tom, were you into Rush?
Yeah, absolutely. 2112 was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw them at Chicago Stadium, and
Wow.
we went down to the stadium, a month or two in advance. Had to have been January. Froze our tails off and partied all night long, waiting to buy tickets the next morning. That was like the cool thing to do when you were senior in high school.
Just like in the movie Dazed and Confused, while they go get Kiss tickets at the end of the movie.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Kids today don't get the pleasure of that experience of going to the concert venue, waiting around the building, the line. That actually brings back good memories. I mean, that's just the way it was, and that's all you knew. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, retrospectively, looking back on it now, as hectic as it is, and you do everything online now, but that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, there were different modes to go down there. There was go buy as many tickets as you can.
Yeah.
And scalp them yourself, or be in line for somebody who was, had 10 people waiting in line.
Right.
Buy them for yourself and your crew.
Yeah.
It was a social event.
Yeah, I think, that when I was going, it was kind of that era of the outdoor amphitheaters, and here in Cincinnati with Riverbend, I think you could just walk up and buy a ticket for $15 at the time, and walk right into the lawn area and have a few beers and hang out.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
Do you remember your first album?
Oh gosh.
CD in your age?
No, I think it was tapes when I started. It was either Michael Jackson or Duran Duran.
Mm.
I think was probably late school, but the most recent concert I've been to, for my 50th birthday a couple of years ago, I went to a festival down in Louisville called Bourbon and Beyond, and got to see Pearl Jam, Crowded House, Greta Van Fleet, just a whole host of bands.
Wow, what a great lineup!
Yeah, it was great, and watching the great Eddie Vedder from Evanston, Keith. I don't know how you guys didn't come across each other, because I think you're about the same age, but it was an amazing concert.
Speaking of Eddie Vedder, the greatest concert event that I went to was Lollapalooza in 1992. Yeah. And Pearl Jam was a part of that, and he's climbing the rafters and going all over. That was a very special time too.
Yeah, I think I went in 93 and 94.
Yeah.
There was the Beastie Boys, Smashing Pumpkins, George Clinton. It was amazing lineups.
That's legit.
Alice in Chains. Cool. Yeah.
I am thinking of Cincinnati. My biggest impression, sad as it is, was I was a senior in high school when the Who concert happened.
Yeah.
Was that down at Riverfront?
It was done at Riverfront Coliseum, which is what it was used to be known. I think it's now Heritage Bank Coliseum, but yeah, I think it seems like there was just a big kind of annual recognition of that, within the last couple of years. It might have been,
Hmm.
I don't think it's been quite 50 years. I think it'll be 50 years in 77 or 78. But
I
yeah,
was
that
just
was a
starting.
big tragedy that really is always, recognized by the city, then certainly changed that whole festival seating process.
It did. It had a huge impact because I was just starting to roadie uh,
Mhm.
around that year, and then got into producing the concerts at college,
Mhm.
and booking the talent, and that had such an impact on how we did crowd control and planned the concerts, and it was always brought up. Very, very impactful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, kind of seeing a little bit of that return with these big stadium concerts, and I think you've seen some examples of, these performers that'll have to stop a show and get people to calm down because they're seeing people in distress. But yeah, it certainly did change a lot of the ways people are buying and tickets and the way they're letting people into the
Yeah.
venues.
Well, I saw the Stones 3 times last summer,
Oh, wow.
and the crowd was so old that there wasn't a lot of rioting going on.
Not a lot of kick ass and rock and roll.
Well, I think we're gonna wrap it up, Bryan. This has been a fascinating discussion,
Yeah.
and we're all of a sudden getting traction here. So keep coming back to the studio. We appreciate all your thoughts, and Tom, as always, this has been fun.
Cheers.
Yeah.
True
Thanks for
that.
having me on again, Keith. It's been
You
great.
bet. All right.
Yeah, Brian. Good to
Good
see
stuff.
you.